All right, Neighborhood Church, we're taking heart, and it's Wednesday, middle of the week, hump day. And yet, the good news is that we're in probably the best well known portion of John 14 to 16. So take some time today. In fact, pause the video right now and read John chapter 15, verses 1 through 17. Jesus gives us this powerful metaphor, this powerful picture that I hope today becomes nice enough for us to get outside and enjoy and reflect on this picture. But he also gives us this beautiful purpose. And that's what I want to hone in on. That we have this picture that has this command in it. And yet the command is to fulfill a purpose. And the purpose is this, verse 8 of John chapter 15. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. He's talking to his disciples. He's talking to men who have followed him around and been with him for 3 years now. And yet what we have to realize is disciples don't just learn from the teacher. A true disciple learns to become like his teacher. And Jesus wants us to not just learn from him, but to learn to be like him, because this brings his Father glory. This reflects him. Jesus, even in this time of COVID, even in this time of isolation, as weird as this year is, Jesus wants to form and shape his life in you. And he promised us that advocate, the one that would not just be with us, but be in us. And the Spirit works in us to form and shape the life of the Son the Father loves in us. And that brings the Father tremendous glory and tremendous joy. And so how do we fulfill that purpose? And that's where Jesus gives us this command, this phrase that's used 8 times in these few verses. Remain in me. Or if you're in the ESV, abide in me. That the way we bring the Father glory, the way we allow Jesus to form and shape his life in us, is if we remain. So if it gets nice enough today, go outside and find a bush or find a tree that's starting to bud on it. We have some lilac bushes and they're starting to get some buds on them. And just contemplate this word picture that Jesus gives. This promise he gives, that if we dwell in him, we remain in him, and really allow him to dwell and make himself at home in us and remain in us. The same way the buds on those little branches are gaining life is the same way the life of Jesus starts to form and shape itself in us. That his thoughts start to become our thoughts, his actions and attitudes start to become ours, because we're allowing him to flow the life that he has into us. That's the great exchange. That's the great promise of Easter, is that we can give him our life, and he, because he's alive and well, can give us his. And so today, take some time to remain, whether that's out in creation, whether that's getting into a psalm. If you need maybe a more aggressive way, aggressive is not the right word, but you need some intentional time in his word, take time to read the Gospel of Mark. You have time to do it between now and Easter. But just soak yourself in Jesus. Remain in him. Let his love, his rugged commitment to be with you and for you unto his likeness, let him demonstrate that to you by remaining and dwelling in him today. So I know we're alone again, we're isolated, we're in our houses, but he's given us his Spirit so that we don't have to be alone. Instead, we can remain, we can abide. What will you do today to intentionally rest and stick with and dwell in Jesus and allow him by his Spirit to form and shape his life in you? Take heart, Neighborhood Church. Remember, Jesus tells us these things so that in him we may have peace. In this world we will and are having trouble. But let's take heart, because he has overcome the world.